Welcome to Sparking Everyday Discipleship, where we discuss books and resources and how to disciple our children, encouraging and empowering parents to spark important conversations for everyday discipleship every day. I'm your host, Terry Hellard Brown. We're so glad you've chosen to spend some time with us today. Before I introduce you to our guest today, I want to let you know that this podcast is sponsored by Hyperbole Publishing. Hyperbole Publishing exists to bridge the gap between Sunday school lessons and Monday morning life. We believe discipleship happens in the everyday moments, around the breakfast table, during bedtime routines, and in the ordinary rhythms of family life. We publish children's books and family resources that help parents move beyond teaching about God to actually walking with their children in real, lived out faith. From board books that introduce biblical truth to chapter books that wrestle with authentic questions to young adult novels, our books are designed to spark conversations, build biblical foundations, and encourage the next generation to embrace faith as their own. Whether you're a first-time author with a story burning in your heart or an experienced writer looking for a publishing partner who shares your passion for discipleship, Hyperbole Publishing offers both traditional publishing and comprehensive self-publishing coaching to bring your vision to life. Hyperbole Publishing, creating stories that disciple families and empower the next generation to live authentic faith. Well, today our guest is Kathleen Long Bostrom. She has been on our podcast several times, and we love her so much, and we love her books. She has a new book out. It came out in February this year, and it is beautiful. I can't wait for her to tell you about it and talk about this book. I hope you'll enjoy the conversation, and I hope you'll check out her book the next time you go shopping. Let's join the conversation. Well, welcome today to the podcast. We have a special guest, a returning guest with us we haven't seen for a long time. Kathleen Long Bostrom is with us today. Kathleen, thank you for being here today.
My pleasure. I'm glad we finally could connect.
Yeah, we've been trying to get together for a few months now, and it's just been crazy. I love your new book, and I'm so excited to get to talk about it today. So, first of all, tell us about this wonderful little board book. It's so cute.
Yeah, I'm so excited to finally have a Lift the Flap book. I wanted to write them 20 some years ago. At that time, I had so many ideas and interests in writing. I had younger children then, and well, now I have grandchildren, so it's perfect. But at that time, board books went out of style for a while because of the expense of making them. So even though Lift the Flaps and board books had been popular, right about the time I got really interested or felt called to write them, that market kind of shut down for a long time. So I just went on and kept writing my regular books and picture books and some other resources for adults and writing for magazines and everything else, and moved on. Then about 2 years ago, I was feeling like I just really would like to write another, give it a try with Lift the Flaps, because it seemed to me I was seeing them coming out in board books, lots of board book series, and I thought, let's give it a go. The words just flowed. I always loved that. I like writing in rhyme, and I feel like I've done most of my writing that way. It just started spilling out of my pen, the joy of God's creation. I guess the world sometimes seems like a big mess, and I guess we've made it a big mess in many ways, but there's still so much beauty and joy, and we just need to have the eyes to see what God has created. That was my inspiration, and it just really wrote itself in a short time. I worked on it with my writing group. So I wanted to convey the joy God had reading the Genesis stories in different versions. You see, God just had such delight in creation and in making, oh, let there be light. I hear excitement in that. And then there's light, and that's good. Then creation comes along, and people are coming, and that's just the best. Then the stewardship we're given when God says, you take
Mhm.
care of this. You are supposed to care for the earth and the creatures and everything in it. That's your job. And I know you can do it. And I trust you. I did want to convey that to children, that we all have that. It's a joyful task, it should be, but one we're all called to do. And even the youngest of us have work they can do in keeping God's earth to be a beautiful, safe place and to take care of it. So I had a prayer at the end of the book to show that. Like, thank you, God, and we'll promise to help you take care of the world. So it was just so much fun to write. Got picked up by Tommy Nelson my first time with them. This is my 59th book, but my first time working with them. They were wonderful and fabulous. And they said, do you have ideas for illustrators? And Janet Samuel had illustrated a book for me since the baby came, one of my favorite books a couple years ago. And I just loved the way that she captured the delight of the family preparing for a new child and just all her details. So I recommended her. She auditioned. She was chosen. So that was really fun. She's so fun to work with. She lives in Wales. I mean, I never talked with her. I've never met her from different ends of the earth, but she is just really easy to work with and adaptable and creative. So it really was a team effort between the illustrator, author, editors, which is what I love the best. I think it should be a collaborative effort, and I really like the input from the other experts and their ideas. So anyway, yeah, the book came out in February. The timing was especially God given, I think, because I had already had the book accepted. It was already in process when our very first grandson was born, February 10th, 2025. So I thought, I've got to dedicate this next book to him. I've dedicated different books over the years to family and friends and churches. And I made it be a surprise for my son and his wife. So at Christmas, I could reveal to them that I had done that. Really, an amazing thing is editors, agents, authors have no say in the exact date a book will come out. This book came out on February 10th, which was our grandson's first birthday. So it was especially fun.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Well, I just love the illustrations. They're so colorful and so creative and interesting. That was the thing with the lift the flap and just the way she drew the illustrations. It's just beautiful. I love any story about creation. It brings us back to the truth and the miraculous powers of God and just glorifies him the way he deserves. Then I love that you brought in, I mean, our first calling as human beings was to take care of God's earth. We've not always remembered that. So I love that you're calling us back to that. What a great lesson for children to learn.
I like to think that because these are books that the adults are reading with the kids, the adults are getting that message again too,
That's true.
are still our job too.
Yeah, that's true. The other part of that too is the creation story and the fact that God created everything is so foundational to our faith. And I think sometimes people don't recognize that. To be able to help parents and children come back to that and to acknowledge that God is the creator, I think it's so vital and so important, especially when we're talking about discipling this next generation. They're being bombarded on every side that evolution has been proven and it's fact. And it's like, no, it hasn't been proven any more than creation has been proven. Nobody was there but God. We can't prove any of that. We have to accept whichever one we believe in by faith.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I think it's so important.
Well, yeah, you see what God made. I've had a few people question that there was a gorilla on a page that was promoting evolution, which it wasn't at all. I said, this is what I'm promoting. See what God made. God made all of this. Like you're saying, this all of life is created by God. However, we can understand it with our limited minds. The call to rejoice in it, to take care of it, to thank God for, wow, you made the waters and you made the trees and you made these incredible animals and you made people of all different kinds. I did want to make sure there were children in the book that were of different ethnic appearances. So there are kids with different shades of skin or hair colors or styles and things. It's like, it doesn't matter. We're all God's children.
That's right. Yeah, that's so important too. Yeah. Love, what is the scripture? Is it in Hebrews? I always forget where it is, where he says the general revelation of God, that through nature, through creation, we all know there was a creator, and we, in our heart of hearts, know God is there. So that's another reason I think creating stories that remind children of God's creation is so amazing and so powerful for little kids.
I'm going to
Yeah.
have to seek that out and have that. That's a great scripture.
I always forget if it's in Romans or in Hebrews, but it's one or the other. I think it's Hebrews. I don't know. I keep forgetting. But
Got it planted in your mind and your heart. That's what's good.
yeah, I always say it's like seeing God's fingerprints. When we look at nature, we look at a flower, we look at trees, we see God's fingerprints everywhere because He's created all things.
Like fingerprints, you say, everyone is unique. When you first learn as a child or an adult that everybody's fingerprints are different, and yet God's fingerprints are there on all of us and everything that God created. That's a wonderful image.
Such a miracle and such a blessing to acknowledge that and to help our children embrace that, to realize that they were fearfully and wonderfully made, that God did put his fingerprints on their lives, and that every single human being is someone created in God's image. Those are such foundational doctrines and important lessons we need to teach our children, but yet it's wrapped in this fun, interactive, beautiful book. I mean, I've read a lot of children's books about creation over the years, and my daughter and I, and my daughter's an adult, but we still enjoyed it together. We were reading it together. She was reading it to me from the States while I was in Thailand, and she's lifting the flaps for me and showing them to me.
Under here.
Yeah. Because originally I was going to try to interview you while we were still there, and we just couldn't get the date together. Anyway, it was so much fun to go through this book. And my daughter, she's an animal person and she loves creation. In fact, she wanted to start a foundation called Heal, and it has to do with taking care of God's creation and taking care of the animals.
Oh,
I can't remember what Heal stood for, but it goes back to the scripture in Second Chronicles about healing our land as we're obeying God and humbling ourselves before him, that he will heal our land. Helping endangered animals live. That's what it was. Helping endangered animals live. That's her dream, to start that someday.
it's a perfect acronym for what she wants to do.
I don't know if we'll ever get it figured out, but we're hoping to. She just has such a heart for that. That's one of her favorite things to remind people, is that we have a responsibility to take care of the earth, to take care of God's creation. And that's just really important to her. So she loved your book as much as I did.
Oh, good. Yay. That makes me happy. For all generations and ages, right?
It really is. Yeah. I think that with picture books and board books, because the lessons are so vital, but they're presented in a simple way that we can all grasp. So we can enjoy these books together as whole families if we want to, because I think my kids, they still love picture books, even though they read lots of heavy, heavy books, big old thick books, but they still love it when we go back and look at picture books, because I make them listen to me read them so I can preview things.
Oh, there you
So,
go. Well, reading them out.
well, and I used to give them one every Christmas. They were building their own libraries for when they have kids someday, except I don't know that they'll ever have kids someday, but maybe. Then one Christmas, I thought, okay, they're all adults. I should just buy the novels and different things for them. And one of my kids was like, "Where's my picture book?" He was so disappointed I didn't give him a picture book.
What a great tradition that they let you know they miss it when you don't follow through.
Yeah.
Well, there's so many beautiful books. As an author, as my kids were growing up, I would take them around to meet other authors and always have books signed. I wanted them to meet the author and hear the author talk about the book and read some of it. So I have, when we went to move, downsize by half our space, wow, we had a gazillion picture books signed to the kids or autographed by authors over the years that aren't with us anymore. So I feel like they're real treasures. When our daughter, who just has a 6 month old now, our second grandson, and she had her baby shower, she chose the theme of children's books. So on all
Oh,
the tables, we had the books from her childhood set up, and we had a stack of them. And we had a friend who makes homemade cookies with the covers of books on them with icing and beautiful. So it was fun to see that that was so important to her that for her baby's shower, she wanted to share all these picture books that had meant something to her. They read to that baby, so do our son and his wife right from the start. And they just are fascinated with books, these little ones. The little guy is learning to turn a page and lift a flap at 6 months.
that's awesome.
And the joy that the parents have reading to these little ones now. And that Greg and I have reading the books again that we read to our own kids. So you can never grow out of picture books, I don't think.
I don't either. The other day, I was reading in one of the Facebook groups for parents that I follow, and one of the parents was wondering when she should start teaching her children about Jesus. Her son is like 2 years old, and everybody's like, oh my goodness, from day one, be reading Bible stories, reading books. Because not only are we teaching them, like we said, doctrine and truth, but we're also helping them to fall in love with reading. The more we read to our children, the more we build that foundation and help them learn to read. Even if they struggle with it, like, if they have a learning disability or whatever, being read to is so wonderful and shows them what a value that is. So if they've got to struggle through it, it gives them more of an encouragement to continue to try. I think it's invaluable. I want to stand on my little soapbox and preach to everybody.
That's okay. You can hear the message.
Yeah. Start at day one. Some even read before they're born.
Yeah. In fact, our kids have done that, and we did that too. I think they say they can hear your voice, just the cadence, the calmness
Yeah.
of it while you're reading to them even before they're born or when they're sleeping babies. I read when my mom was dying of cancer. She was in a coma. She came to for a brief moment in the hospital. She was scared about whether she was going to go to heaven or not. So I read to her from my book, What About Heaven, that promised there would be a room of her own with others nearby so she won't be alone. And she was awake while I read the passages, and then she died that morning. So I feel like even at the end of life, a picture book might be what we most need to hear.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Just that the words are simple but profound.
They are. Yeah. And like you said, comforting and calming. Yeah, what a blessing. Well, like you said, this is what book for you? What number?
59.
59.
Yeah, I got to get one more out there. I have another grandson I have to dedicate a book to.
That's right.
So I'm working on that now. It's a tougher market these days, I think, at least for me, maybe because I'm an aging author and now there are a lot more young ones. A lot of editors and agencies still see the value of someone who's published for a long period of time, as well as seeing the value of new voices coming in. So there's a lot of changes in the business since I started. Just the number of authors and the different ways books can be made now, digital illustrations, all that, which these are in this book, digital illustrations, but she does such a beautiful job. It also hastens the process of the art because you can make changes more quickly. So I'm still
Yeah.
trying to get some books out there, praying about what is it, God, that you're calling me to write, that you need me to write. Still sorting that all out, but all the changes we've gone through this year with Greg retiring and downsizing and moving and new grandson, I have not been writing as consistently as I need to be, and I'm really starting to get back into that. It sure feels good to get back to that.
That's awesome. Yeah. Transition is hard. It's kind of like getting your sea legs when you get back into the routine again.
Yeah, yeah, much that needs to be done, and it's all good. If our kids can't say, "Hey, can you come watch the grandson for a couple hours?" It's like, That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's fun watching them and thinking about how their little minds are working and what are they interested in? What could I write about? It's been a great time. Something we weren't sure would ever happen for us either, so it's been a great joy.
Yeah. Well, you were talking about the publishing industry changing, and I've talked to so many authors who've had numerous books printed, and their companies are not even printing children's books anymore. Are you finding that with the ones you work with, that there's fewer publishers even publishing board books and picture books?
I see imprints that are closing down that were very successful imprints when they were at their height. I'm trying to think which ones. Maybe not so many of the ones that I've worked with still doing
Mm.
children's books, but I do. I mean, I read the publishers' weekly updates and I try to keep up to date through SCBWI, Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators, with what's going on in the markets. And it does seem to be, in some ways, shrinking as far as people taking the risk. Many publishers were good at middle grade or young adult or adult books, so no more picture books. I think they're more expensive. Of course, they're more expensive to create with the art you're paying, even though we divide the royalty. So I think maybe the digital will help that, though. Might be.
Well, I was watching an interview with the guy who runs Macmillan Company, and he was talking about how it costs the same amount to publish one picture book as it does to publish a 400-page like novel or textbook or something. And I've talked to a publisher, a guy who used to run the print machines, and he said he would print anything but picture books. They are so hard to get on the machine because the spine is so small that they're so tedious. So that's part of the reason too. So I do understand the difficulty in it, but it's for such a good purpose. You know, those hardbound picture books are the best. You can have them for generations. It just breaks my heart. I thought we've got to find a better way to publish hardbound picture books. And I said, I want to start a campaign, save the picture books, save the board books.
Well, count me in on that.
Yeah.
What's challenging too is people don't want to pay the price. Like this book is $12. I think that you can't even take your child to a movie for that, a $12 book that you're going to read and read and read. So I said every now and then I'll throw that out there and say, this book costs as much as 2 cups of Starbucks, but will last much longer. But people kind of balk at paying for books.
Yeah.
That makes me sad too. I have bought books. I support the libraries. I like to support the libraries, so I do check out a lot of books. But I make sure I buy books as well, and I encourage other people to do it as well because what a bargain they are.
I know. And because they're perpetual. We keep reading them again and again, especially with kids and with the next generation that comes up and more grandkids coming up. It's such an investment in our kids' lives and in the future. I just hope we can help people through podcasts like this or whatever, that they can see the value in that and not forget. I was writing a post today about, think about how that book made you feel when you were 7 years old. I was thinking back to having a book read to me or reading a book at that age, and the emotions that you experience, the lessons that you internalize. It literally changes who you are. And what a powerful thing. Then I got to thinking as I got older, and one of my favorite books was Little Women.
Wow.
I wanted to be a writer from the time I was 7. So I was like Joe, wanting to get her book published and everything. And the story of Beatrix Potter, same thing, loving her process of trying to get her books published and creating all these little creatures. Just those stories did something to me. They spoke to my heart and they changed me. Then I was thinking about, as in high school, we were reading part of His Enemy, His Friend. I don't know if you remember that story, but it's where 2 soccer players were on different teams in soccer, but they became friends. And then their countries went to war. So they're fighting against each other. And one of them kills the other one, if I remember right. I mean, it was 100 years ago for me. But I remember just weeping as a teenager and just crying out to God, why do people have to go to war? Why do we have war? just being so impacted emotionally by what I was reading. I've always been that way with the books I've read from the time I was little bitty all the way to now, I guess, even now. But especially going into the tween years and teen years, those books really were powerful. We just can't forget that as adults and as parents. We've got to remember that because our kids deserve to have that too. Yeah, to get off the screens and get into the books.
It's harder and harder too because there are so few bookstores. When I was first publishing my books, my kids were young, and there were lots of children's bookstores that were just incredible. They would put the book out and they would have book signings and they would promote the book, and they knew their customers. They could say, "Here's a great book. I think you'll love this book for your child." And that was a different era now. People buy online. We took our kids, we didn't have any money much growing up. We would take our kids to Borders bookstore every month or so, and they would divide up into whatever section, and we would browse. We would spend hours looking at books, and then we'd buy them a book to take home. You can't do that very much anymore.
Yeah,
It was how they grew up, all the bookstores around. That's a real challenge for all authors, but I think for children's book authors, it's a really tight market trying to be seen. You go to a chain bookstore, and it used to be they had shelves of children's religious picture books, Bibles and Bible stories and prayer books. Now it's like condensed into this tiny little shelf, and
yeah,
it makes me so sad because that's where you find out. You go to a shelf, you pick out a book. I mean, there's the library, thank goodness.
yes.
I do support the library, but as far as authors trying to get books so that your next book gets picked up because the first one sold well, it's harder and harder and harder. So, like your podcast and other blogs and sites where people are promoting children's books, that's really how a lot of the word gets out these days, I think.
I've noticed too on like YouTube people reading the whole book. And at first I thought, well, this is a terrible idea. People reading the whole book, but I found that many parents will watch those videos to find out if they want to buy the book because they want to know what the book says. When I first saw those videos, I thought, oh, surely people aren't just putting their kids in front of the screen and having someone read to them. And I know sometimes they probably do that, but hopefully not much. I hope that they're looking at the books like I heard some people say they are to see what the book says so then they know if they want to buy it because we don't have that browsing ability like we used to in the bookstores. I think that's what I loved. Was it Borders or was it Barnes and Noble where you could just sit down and read the book and then decide if you want to buy it? You can sit in the store and read it. They had
Yeah, Borders was the one we used to go to. They just let you sit there all day, and they were okay about it.
it was so fun.
It was just a great thing for our kids. It didn't, like I said, have a lot of income to go places. We were pastors. We worked on weekends. Not that we didn't have vacations, but that was one of the real joys we had together as a family. So I'm trying to get some of my books into a local bookstore here in Pasadena. It's a beautiful bookstore. It has a gazillion children's books, so that's a fun place. I can't wait to take the grandchildren there and let them pick out a book to buy for them, even if it's not mine.
I'm glad there's one there. That's awesome. Well, we have Mardell here where I live, which is a Christian bookstore, but they also cater to the homeschool community. So they have a lot of curriculum and great books too. They're huge stores. I think they're owned by the same people who run Hobby Lobby. I think it's the same owners. I'm not sure, but I think so.
I don't know that.
Anyway, other than Barnes and Noble, I think that's about all we have here. I miss those bookstores.
Yeah, I miss the little independents. They just all went out of business, and I think that's very
Yeah.
sad because the people who own them had such a heart for the books too.
Yeah.
Just loved getting books, the right book to the right child. I miss that.
Yeah. Well, we're going to stand on our little soapboxes and shout out to save the picture books, save
Yeah,
reading, keep reading.
we'll start a movement.
Yes. Well, I appreciate your time and I'm so glad we got to reconnect. I look forward to talking to you when you have your next one come out. Keep me posted.
I'll let you know, and prayers for you as you go through this transition and waiting to return to the ministry you've been working on. I'm glad it's going so well, but prayers for the countries that are struggling, especially too. Thank you so much, Terry. It's always a joy to talk with you, and you give me incentive to keep writing.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. That made my day. All right. God bless you.
Thank you so
See you
much.
soon.
Bye.
Thank you for spending time with us today. If we sparked any questions or you want to share a comment, we would love to hear from you. We always love hearing from our listeners. You can put a question or comment below the show notes on my blog post, or you can comment on YouTube. We would love to hear from you, and we respond to every comment. As I said before, we're sponsored by Hyperbole Publishing, and I wanted to let you know as well that we have an amazing, I want to say epic, retreat in August. If you are a writer or would love to become a writer, we want to invite you to come to the castle and write and spend time with other children's book writers and illustrators who have the same heart for ministry and for children's literature. It's August 19th through 23rd. 19th is a travel day. We start in the evening on the 19th, which is a Wednesday. Then we have Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, full days of writing and learning and coaching and mentoring. Then on Saturday, we have an excursion that is going to be just amazing for inspiring new stories and new pictures for illustrators. Then Sunday, we have worship together, and then we will head home. So, like I said, if you've got a story burning in your heart, if you're a new writer or you've got stories already written, books already published, this is a time for you to get away with God and spend time with Him, to get away and spend some time writing, and to get away with a bunch of like-minded writers and illustrators that you can network with and have some fun with. It will be an amazing time to relax, renew, refresh, and get inspired. So we're calling it Storybook Inkspiration at the Castle. And yes, we are meeting at a castle. What better place to inspire children's writers, right? So if you write anything from board books to young adult, you are more than welcome. If you illustrate children's literature, you are more than welcome. Please contact us. There will be a link in the show notes. You can find out more information. You can register. And you can also reach out if you have any questions. We would love to see you there with us August 19th through 23rd in Broken Bow, Oklahoma at the castle. We are going to have an amazing time writing and fellowshipping together. And as always, most of all, we pray you feel empowered, equipped, and encouraged to walk by faith and to embrace everyday discipleship every day with the people in your life. God bless you.